The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 12 different species sat around the massive circular table, their various forms creating strange shadows under the blue lights. At the center of the table, a holographic display showed a planet that made even the bravest warriors feel sick to their stomachs. Kepler 442b rotated slowly in the display. Its surface was a nightmare of swirling storms, jagged mountains, and vast oceans that boiled with acid. The planet's data scrolled beside it in glowing text that told a story of death. Surface gravity was more than 3 times what most species could handle. The air pressure would crush a normal being in seconds. Radiation levels were so high that most galactic species would die within hours of landing. Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony Council stood up. His 6 legs clicked against the metal floor as he moved closer to the display. His large black eyes reflected the planet's angry red surface. "Fellow council members," he said in his clicking voice, "we have found the solution to our crystal problem." The other ambassadors shifted in their seats. Everyone knew about the crystal problem. Quantum crystals were the most important resource in the galaxy. Without them, faster-than-light travel was impossible. Ships would be trapped in single-star systems, trade would stop, the galaxy would fall apart. The biggest deposit of quantum crystals ever discovered lay deep under Kepler 442b's surface, enough crystals to power the entire galaxy for 1,000 years. But the planet was rated as Class 15, the most dangerous classification possible. No known species could survive there long enough to mine even a single crystal. "What solution could there be?" asked Ambassador Rixtal, her blue skin turning pale green with worry. "We have sent 3 different mining expeditions. All failed. The Korvaxi lost an entire fleet. The Xantharians lasted exactly 4 hours on the surface. Even the Hegemony's best soldiers couldn't establish a base camp." Veltar's mandibles clicked, in what might have been a smile. "That was before we discovered the humans." A wave of confused chittering and buzzing filled the hall. The humans were the newest species to make contact with galactic civilization. They came from a small blue world called Earth, in a quiet corner of the galaxy. Their technology was primitive. Their ships were slow and clunky. Most council members thought they were barely more advanced than animals. "The humans," Ambassador Kethmore laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Those soft pink creatures from the water world? They can barely leave their own star system." "Exactly," Veltar said. "They are expendable. We offer them this mining contract as their first official galactic mission. If they succeed, we get the crystals we need. If they fail..." He paused, looking around the room. "Well, the galaxy loses nothing important." The display changed to show images of humans. They looked fragile compared to the other galactic species. No natural armor, no claws, no obvious weapons. They were bipedal like several other species, but smaller and weaker looking. Their pale skin looked like it would tear easily. Their small teeth couldn't bite through metal or bone. "These creatures cannot possibly survive on a Class 15 world," said Ambassador Yilnara. "It would be murder to send them there." "Would it?" Veltar asked. "We are offering them a choice. A chance to prove themselves worthy of galactic citizenship. If they refuse, they remain isolated in their little corner of space. If they accept..." He clicked his mandibles again. "Then they face the consequences of their own decision." The human representative wasn't present at this meeting. Humans didn't have full council membership yet. They were still being evaluated for galactic citizenship. This evaluation had been going on for 2 years, much longer than normal. Most species were granted citizenship within months of first contact. "What exactly are you proposing?" asked Ambassador Rixtal. "We send the humans an official contract," Veltar explained. "We tell them that Kepler 442b is a challenging world that requires their unique human qualities to successfully colonize. We offer them exclusive mining rights and full citizenship upon completion of the mission. We do not mention the class, 15 rating." Several ambassadors made sounds of agreement. It was a perfect plan. The humans would think they were being honored with an important mission. They would never know they were being sent to die on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. "The humans have already shown interest in exploration," Veltar continued. "Their leader, Someone called Commander Wu Jin has been requesting permission to establish colonies outside their home system. This gives them exactly what they want. The vote was quick and unanimous. All 12 species agreed to the plan. The humans would be offered the Kepler 442b mining contract. The official documents would describe it as a challenging but rewarding opportunity for an ambitious species. 3 days later, the message was sent to Earth. Commander Wu Jin received it at the Human Space Command Center in Seoul. He was a serious man in his 40s with short black hair and steady brown eyes. He had spent years preparing humanity for their place among the stars. When Wu Jin read the message, his heart raced with excitement. Finally, the Galactic Council was offering humans a real mission. Not just observer status or limited trade agreements, but a chance to establish humanity's first colony outside the solar system. The message described Kepler 442b as a resource-rich world with unique environmental challenges suitable for human ingenuity and adaptability. It mentioned valuable mineral deposits and the potential for a permanent human settlement. It said the mission would prove humanity's worth as a galactic species. Wu Jin called together his senior staff. Dr. Sumin, the xenobiologist, studied the limited environmental data provided. Engineer Tae Ho reviewed the technical requirements for establishing a colony. Security Chief Hyejin planned protection protocols for the colonists. "This is our chance," Wu Jin told his team. "The Council is finally giving us a real opportunity. If we succeed, humanity becomes a full galactic citizen. If we fail, we won't fail," Tae Ho said firmly. "Humans have survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and countless wars. We can handle whatever this planet throws at us." Dr. Sumin looked worried as she studied the planetary data. Something felt wrong about the limited information provided. The environmental readings seemed incomplete. There were gaps in the atmospheric composition data. The biological survey was almost empty. "Commander," she said carefully, "I think we should request more detailed information about the planet. This data seems—" "The Council probably wants us to do our own surveys," Wu Jin interrupted. "It's part of the test. They want to see if humans can handle independent exploration." Within a month, 10,000 volunteers had signed up for the mission. They came from every country on Earth, every profession, every background. Scientists, engineers, farmers, doctors, teachers, soldiers, all of them eager to be part of humanity's great adventure among the stars. The colony ship was named New Seoul in honor of the mission's commander. It was humanity's largest and most advanced vessel, built specifically for long-distance colonization. The ship carried everything needed to establish a permanent settlement: manufacturing equipment, agricultural supplies, medical facilities, and defensive systems. As the New Seoul prepared to leave Earth's orbit, the Galactic Council watched with interest. Private betting pools opened on how long the humans would survive. The longest estimate was 6 months. Most bets were placed on complete mission failure within weeks. Commander Wu Jin stood on the bridge of the New Seoul as Earth grew smaller behind them. He felt the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. This mission would determine whether humans became respected members of galactic civilization or remained isolated primitives. He had no idea that the Galactic Council had just sent 10,000 humans to their deaths on the most dangerous world in the galaxy. The Council members were already planning how to divide humanity's home system among themselves after the colony ship was inevitably destroyed. The New Seoul jumped to hyperspace, carrying humanity toward what the galaxy believed would be their extinction. The New Seoul dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Commander Wu Jin stood on the bridge, looking at the planet that would be humanity's new home. Even from this distance, Kepler 442b looked angry. Storm systems larger than Earth's continents swirled across its surface. Lightning flashed constantly through thick clouds that blocked most of the surface from view. "Long-range sensors are picking up some unusual readings," reported Communications Officer Jin-A. Her young face was creased with worry as she studied her displays. "The electromagnetic interference is much stronger than the Council data indicated." Dr. Sumin moved to her own sensor station. She had been studying the limited planetary data for months during their journey, and nothing quite added up. The atmospheric readings were inconsistent. The biological surveys were almost empty. Now that they were closer, she could see why. "Commander," she said slowly, "I think we have a problem. These readings? This isn't just a challenging planet. This is something else entirely." Wujin moved to look over her shoulder. The sensor displays showed atmospheric pressure readings that made his stomach drop. Surface gravity was listed as 3.2 times Earth standard. Radiation levels were marked in red, dangerous levels for extended exposure. "The Council said this was challenging," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. They knew humans could handle challenging environments. "Sir," Engineer Tejo called from his station, "I'm reading massive mineral deposits below the surface. The quantum crystal formations are bigger than anything in Council records. This planet is incredibly valuable." That explained it, Wu Jin thought. The Council was testing humanity with a high-value target. They wanted to see if humans could succeed where others might fail. It was dangerous, but the rewards would be enormous. "Take us into orbit," he ordered. "Begin detailed planetary scans. I want to know everything about our new home before we set foot on it." As the new Sol approached Kepler 442b, the true scope of the challenge became clear. The planet's surface was a hellscape of active volcanoes, acid seas, and weather systems that made Earth's worst storms look gentle. The atmospheric composition included gases that were toxic to most known life forms. Security Chief Hae Jin studied the surface scans with growing alarm. "Commander, I'm seeing movement patterns that suggest large predatory life forms. Some of these signatures are enormous, bigger than Earth whales." "Native life," Wu Jin said, though he felt a chill run down his spine. The Council mentioned the planet had an active ecosystem. "We'll adapt." Dr. Suman looked up from her biological analysis. Her face was pale. "Commander, I need to speak with you privately." They moved to Wu Jin's ready room. Suman closed the door and activated the privacy screen. "Sir, I've been analyzing the planetary data against Council classification standards. Based on these readings, this planet should be classified as Class 15, the highest danger rating in galactic records." Wu Jin felt the blood drain from his face. Class 15 worlds were considered uninhabitable death traps. No species in galactic history had ever successfully colonized a Class 15 world. "That's impossible. The Council wouldn't send us to a death world." "I don't think they told us the truth," Suman said quietly. "The environmental data they provided was deliberately incomplete. They left out the most dangerous readings." Before Wu Jin could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Jine's voice came over the communication system. "Commander, to the bridge immediately. We're detecting weapon signatures approaching the ship." They rushed back to the bridge. The main display showed 3 sleek ships moving toward them. The vessels had the curved designs typical of Hegemony Council warships. They were much smaller than the new Sol, but heavily armed. "Incoming message," Jine reported. The display showed a familiar face, Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony Council. His black eyes gleamed with something that might have been amusement. "Commander Wu Jin of the human colony ship. I trust your journey was comfortable." "Ambassador Veltar," Wu Jin said carefully. "We weren't expecting an escort. Is there some kind of problem?" "No problem at all," Veltar clicked. "We are simply here to observe your colonization attempt. The Council is very interested in seeing how humans perform on Kepler 442b." The word attempt hit Wu Jin like a cold blade. "We will establish a successful colony, Ambassador. Humanity doesn't fail." "Of course," Veltar said, though his mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "We have complete faith in human capabilities. We will be monitoring your progress from a safe distance." The transmission ended. The Hegemony ships moved to high orbit, far enough away to avoid the planet's dangerous radiation, but close enough to watch everything that happened on the surface. "Sir," Tejo said quietly, "those ships aren't here to help us. They're here to watch us die." Wu Jin clenched his jaw. Whether this was a test or a trap, humanity would prove worthy. "Prepare the landing parties. We're going down." The first landing shuttles launched 6 hours later. Wu Jin led the primary expedition, along with Dr. Sumin, Engineer Taeho, and Security Chief Hyejin. 50 colonists accompanied them, including farmers, technicians, and soldiers. As their shuttle entered the planet's atmosphere, the true horror of Kepler 442b became clear. The atmospheric pressure tried to crush their shuttle like an empty can. Winds strong enough to level cities buffeted them from all directions. Lightning strikes turned the sky into a constant electrical storm. Hull integrity holding, Taeho reported, though sweat beaded on his forehead. But barely. This atmosphere is trying to eat our ship. The shuttle's sensors screamed warnings about toxic gases, dangerous radiation, and electromagnetic interference. Equipment designed to galactic standards began failing one by one. The communications array went offline. The navigation system started giving impossible readings. Emergency landing, Wu Jin ordered, as more systems failed. Get us down now. The shuttle crashed more than landed, plowing through alien vegetation before coming to rest in a smoking crater. The colonists inside were bruised but alive. Through the small windows, they could see their new world for the first time. Kepler 442b looked like someone's nightmare of hell. The sky was a sickly yellow-green color, filled with swirling clouds that sparked with constant lightning. Strange. Plants grew everywhere. Twisted things with thorns like metal spears and leaves that dripped acid. In the distance, massive creatures moved between the alien trees. Environmental suits, everyone, Hyejin ordered. Full protection protocols. Even with their best protective gear, 3 colonists collapsed within minutes of leaving the shuttle. The planet's atmosphere found ways through seals that should have been airtight. Dr. Sumin rushed to treat them with emergency medical supplies. The air is full of toxins I don't recognize, she reported. These suits aren't going to protect us for long. That was when the first attack came. The creatures looked like centipedes the size of subway cars. Their exoskeletons were black and shiny, harder than steel. They moved with terrible speed despite their size, flowing over the ground like living shadows. There were dozens of them, surrounding the crashed shuttle. "Weapons free!" Hyejin shouted. The colonists opened fire with their energy weapons. The blast that could cut through starship armor barely scratched the creatures' shells. The centipedes attacked with mandibles that dripped acid and legs that could punch through metal. 2 colonists died in the first 30 seconds. The creatures tore through their environmental suits like paper. More colonists fell as the toxic atmosphere invaded their damaged protection. Back to the shuttle, Wu Jin ordered. They retreated to their crashed vessel, sealing the hatches behind them. Outside, the centipedes scraped and clawed at the hull, searching for weak points. Their acid saliva began eating through the metal. "Commander," Jin's voice crackled over the failing radio. "We're receiving transmissions from the hegemony ships. They're placing bets on how long we'll survive." Wu Jin looked around at his terrified colonists. 3 were dying from atmospheric poisoning. 2 were dead from creature attacks. Their shuttle was being dissolved by alien acid. Their equipment was failing in the hostile environment. For the first time since accepting this mission, Wu Jin understood the truth. The Galactic Council hadn't sent them to establish a colony. They had sent them to die on a world that killed everything that didn't belong. But as he watched his people treat the wounded and reinforce the failing hull, Wu Jin felt something the Council hadn't expected. Determination. Humans had survived ice ages and asteroid impacts. They had conquered every environment on Earth, from frozen tundra to burning deserts. If the galaxy thought one more hell world would stop them, the galaxy was about to learn how wrong it could be. "Listen up," he told his colonists. "The Council thinks we're going to die here. They think this planet will defeat us like it defeated everyone else. But they don't know humans. They don't know what we're capable of." Outside, the centipedes continued their attack. Above them, alien observers waited for the inevitable human extinction. But inside the damaged shuttle, 50 humans began planning, not just how to survive, but how to conquer the most dangerous world in the galaxy. 3 weeks had passed since the first landing on Kepler 442b, and the hegemony observers were confused. According to their calculations, all the humans should have been dead by now. Every species that had attempted to colonize this death world had been extinct within days. Yet the human settlement was not only surviving, it was growing. Commander Wu Jin stood at the edge of what they now called New Busan, watching his people work. The initial landing site had been expanded into a proper base camp surrounded by walls made from melted alien metal. The walls were scarred from acid attacks and creature claws, but they held strong. "Daily report," he said to Dr. Sumin as she approached with her data tablet. "Casualties are down to 0 for the past week," she said, though she looked as tired as everyone else. "The colonists who survived the first few days seemed to be adapting better than we expected." It was true. The humans who had lived through the initial disaster were changing. Their lungs were processing the toxic atmosphere more efficiently. Their skin was developing resistance to the planet's acid rain. Most surprising of all, some of them were actually getting stronger in the heavy gravity. Engineer Tae-ho jogged up to them, moving easily despite the crushing gravitational pull that had crippled other galactic species. "Commander, I've finished the modifications to the Council equipment. It actually works now." That had been one of their first discoveries. The standard galactic technology provided by the Council was designed for garden worlds, planets with gentle weather and comfortable environments. On Kepler 442b, it failed catastrophically. But human engineers had a talent for taking broken things and making them work better than before. Tae-ho had stripped down the alien mining equipment and rebuilt it using human engineering principles. Where the aliens used complex energy systems, he substituted simple mechanical solutions. Where they relied on delicate sensors, he used basic human intuition. The result was crude-looking but incredibly effective. "The mining operation is ahead of schedule," he continued. "We're extracting more quantum crystals in a day than the Council's expeditions managed in weeks." Security Chief Hae-jin approached from the perimeter. Her environmental suit was patched and scarred, but she moved with confidence. Behind her, a group of colonists herded several of the giant centipedes toward the base's newly constructed pens. "The domestication program is working," she reported. "Young-ho figured out how to communicate with them using pheromone signals. Turns out they're not really aggressive. They were just defending their territory." Young-ho had been a marine biologist on Earth. On Kepler 442b, he became humanity's first alien animal trainer. The creatures everyone thought were mindless killers were actually intelligent pack hunters with complex social structures. They could be reasoned with, traded with, even befriended. "They're excellent waste processors," Young-ho explained as he joined the group. "They eat all our organic garbage and convert it into fertilizer. Plus, they're better guards than any security system. Nothing attacks a settlement protected by centipedes." Dr. Sumin pulled up another report on her tablet. "The agricultural teams are reporting success with the crop modifications. Dongsu's hybrid plants are growing faster than Earth vegetables. Farmer Dongsu had taken Earth seeds and crossbred them with local plant life. The results looked strange: corn with metallic husks, tomatoes that glowed faintly in the dark. But they grew in Kepler 442b's toxic soil and provided better nutrition than the original Earth varieties." "The local plants aren't poisonous," Sumin explained. "They're medicine. The compounds that would kill most galactic species actually improve human health. We're stronger, faster, and more resilient than when we arrived." Commander Wu Jin looked around at his thriving settlement. The humans had done more than survive on this death world. They had made it home. Buildings constructed from local materials stood strong against acid storms. Gardens full of hybrid crops flourished in soil that should have been lifeless. Even the children born since landing were healthy and active, playing games in gravity that would crush most adult aliens. Above them, the hegemony observation ships maintained their watch. Wu Jin could imagine the confusion among the alien observers. Their bets on human extinction had all failed. Reports they sent back to the Council described impossible achievements. "Sir," Communications Officer Jin Ae called from the command center, "we're receiving another message from the hegemony ships." On the main display, Ambassador Veltar appeared. His black eyes seemed less confident than before. "Commander Wu Jin, the Council is interested in your progress reports. Some members question the accuracy of your survival statistics." Our statistics are completely accurate, Wu Jin replied calmly. Humanity is thriving on Kepler 442b. We appreciate the Council's concern for our welfare. Veltar's mandibles clicked, nervously. Perhaps you would accept a Council inspection team to verify your colony's status? Of course, Wu Jin said with a slight smile. Though I should warn you that our environmental conditions might be uncomfortable for most galactic species. We've had to make significant adaptations to survive here. We will send representatives equipped with the best protective gear, Veltar said quickly. As you wish. New Busan welcomes all peaceful visitors. The transmission ended. Hye Jin looked at Wu Jin with concern. Do you think that's wise? If they see how well we're doing, they already know how well we're doing, Wu Jin replied. The question is whether they understand what it means. 2 days later, a Council shuttle landed at New Busan's spaceport. The spaceport was another human innovation, a landing pad that could handle ships in the planet's violent weather conditions. 3 Council representatives emerged wearing environmental suits so thick they could barely move. Ambassador Veltar was accompanied by a Korvaxi military observer and a Xantharian scientist. All 3 aliens moved like they were walking through thick mud, struggling against the heavy gravity and dense atmosphere. Welcome to New Busan, Wu Jin said, greeting them at the landing pad. He wore only light protective gear, the kind that had failed catastrophically during the first landing. Now it was sufficient protection for humans adapted to the planet's conditions. The alien delegation toured the settlement in shocked silence. They saw humans working in the toxic atmosphere with minimal protection. They watched children play in acid rain. They observed colonists herding creatures that had slaughtered previous alien expeditions. This is impossible, the Xantharian scientist whispered through his suit's communicator. No species can adapt this quickly to a Class 15 environment. We prefer not to think in terms of limitations, Dr. Suman said cheerfully. Humans have always been good at making the best of difficult situations. The tour continued to the mining operations. The aliens watched in amazement as human workers extracted quantum crystals using equipment that looked primitive, but worked better than anything in Council arsenals. The daily output was larger than most planets managed in months. How? The Korvaxi observer demanded. How are you not dead? Engineer Taeho laughed. Because we're human. This planet tried to kill us, so we learned to kill it back. Then we made friends with it. Now it works for us. The delegation returned to their ship that evening, struggling to walk in the heavy gravity. Their environmental suits were corroded by the acid atmosphere. Their equipment had failed in multiple ways. They had lasted exactly 4 hours on the planet's surface. As their shuttle lifted off, Wu Jin received a message from the new Sol in orbit. Captain Park reported that the hegemony observation ships were transmitting urgent messages back to Council space. What do you think they're telling the Council? Dr. Sumin asked. The truth, Wu Jin replied. That humanity just turned their death trap into a garden, and that changes everything. Above them, the alien observers were indeed reporting the truth, but they were also reporting their fears. A species that could not only survive but thrive on a Class 15 world was beyond anything in galactic experience. If humans could colonize Kepler 442b, they could colonize anywhere. The Council had sent humanity to die in isolation on the most dangerous planet they could find. Instead, they had given humans the galaxy's most valuable resource base and proven that no world was too hostile for human settlement. In the halls of the Galactic Council, emergency sessions were being called. The human problem was no longer about disposal, it was about survival. Not human survival, but the survival of the galactic order itself. Commander Wu Jin looked up at the alien ships and smiled. The galaxy had tried to bury humanity on a death world. Instead, they had planted the seeds of human dominance among the stars. The real test was just beginning. 6 months after the first landing, New Busan had transformed into something that defied galactic understanding. The settlement now housed 15,000 humans, with more arriving weekly as word spread throughout human space about the success of the colony. Commander Wu Jin, now officially Governor Wu Jin, stood in his office overlooking the bustling city. Through the reinforced windows, he could see humans and their centipede partners working together in the mining fields. The sight would have been impossible to imagine when they first landed. "Governor," his aide Minho announced, "the monthly production reports are ready." Wu Jin reviewed the numbers with satisfaction. New Busan was producing more quantum crystals than the rest of the galaxy combined. The mining operations had expanded deep underground, following crystal veins that seemed to go on forever. Human engineers had developed new extraction techniques that were both more efficient and safer than traditional galactic methods. Young Ho knocked on the office door and entered with his daily animal report. The former marine biologist now supervised a menagerie that would have amazed xenobiologists across the galaxy. "The centipede breeding program is exceeding expectations," he reported. "We now have over 300 trained workers and guards. The new hatchlings are bonding with human handlers from birth, creating partnerships stronger than traditional domestication. But the centipedes were just the beginning. Human colonists had formed relationships with dozens of species that other galactic civilizations considered deadly predators. Acid-spitting lizards became living waste disposal systems. Flying creatures with razor-sharp wings worked as aerial scouts and messengers. Even the massive whale-sized underground borers were trained to help with mining operations. "The ecosystem integration is remarkable," Dr. Sumin added as she joined the meeting. "We're not just surviving here, we're becoming part of the planet's natural order. The local wildlife is adapting to us as much as we're adapting to them." Security Chief Hae-jin entered with a grin on her scarred face. "The perimeter scouts are reporting something interesting. We've got visitors trying to establish unauthorized mining camps about 50 kilometers north." "Council forces?" Wu Jin asked. "Negative. These are freelance operations. Korvaxi pirates, Xantharian corporate raiders, even some hegemony military units operating without official authorization. They're all trying to claim pieces of the crystal deposits." Wu Jin wasn't surprised. Word of Kepler 442b's incredible wealth had leaked despite council attempts at secrecy. Criminal organizations and corrupt officials throughout the galaxy were trying to grab their share of the riches. "How long do they typically last?" he asked. Hae-jin's grin widened. "The Korvaxi lasted 2 days before their equipment dissolved in acid rain. The Xantharians made it almost a week before the local wildlife drove them off. The hegemony squad abandoned their base this morning after a pack of centipedes surrounded their camp." Engineer Taeho looked up from his technical reports. "Their problem is that they're using standard galactic equipment. It's designed for civilized worlds, not combat zones like this. They might as well be trying to mine crystals with paper tools." Mechanic Jiwoo had been quietly listening from the corner. She was a small woman who had worked on spacecraft engines back on Earth. But on Kepler 442b, she had become something unprecedented. A designer of vehicles that actually functioned in impossible conditions. "I've been modifying our transport vehicles," she reported. "The new models run on processed atmospheric gases instead of standard fuel cells. They're faster, more reliable, and completely immune to the electromagnetic interference that disables alien tech." "Show me," Wu Jin said. They moved to the vehicle depot where Jiwoo's latest creation sat gleaming under the artificial lights. It looked like no vehicle in galactic records, part Earth engineering, part alien technology, part organic material harvested from local creatures. The hull was grown rather than built, using techniques learned from studying local organisms. "It feeds on the toxic atmosphere," Jiwoo explained proudly. "The same gases that poison other species power our engines. We can travel anywhere on the planet indefinitely without refueling." Dr. Minseo approached the group, carrying a medical bag that looked more like a botanical collection kit. She had been Earth's leading biochemist before the colony mission, but on Kepler 442b she had become humanity's first xenopharmacologist. "Governor, I wanted to update you on the health enhancement program," she said. "The compounds we're extracting from local flora are showing remarkable effects on human physiology." She pulled out a small vial filled with glowing green liquid. "This is distilled from the thorny plants that grow around the acid pools. In most galactic species, it would cause immediate organ failure. In humans, it increases strength, speed, and endurance by approximately 30%. Side effects? Wu Jin asked. Better resistance to radiation, improved healing rates, and enhanced sensory perception, Minseo replied. The colonists who volunteer for the enhancement treatments are performing beyond baseline human capabilities. Scout Kyung Min jogged up to the group, moving with the easy grace of someone comfortable in heavy gravity. She had been exploring the planet's underground cave systems, mapping crystal deposits and documenting new species. Governor, you need to see what we found in the deep caves, she said excitedly. The crystal formations down there, they're not just mineral deposits, they're some kind of technology. The group followed her to the mining elevator that descended deep into Kepler 442b's crust. As they traveled down, the artificial lights gave way to natural illumination from the crystals themselves. The caves glowed with blue and purple light that pulsed like a living heartbeat. The crystals are arranged in geometric patterns, Kyungmin explained as they walked through chambers larger than Earth's biggest cathedrals. They're processing energy from the planet's core and storing it in quantum matrices. This isn't just a mine, it's some kind of ancient power system. Dr. Suman scanned the formations with her instruments. The energy output is incredible. These crystals aren't just fuel for faster-than-light travel. They could power entire star systems for centuries. Who built this? Wu Jin asked. Unknown, Kyungmin replied. But whoever they were, they're long gone. The system has been running automatically for thousands of years, maybe longer. We're not mining crystals. We're harvesting energy from a planetary-scale power plant. As they explored deeper, the true scope of the discovery became clear. The entire planet was honeycombed with crystal channels that collected energy from geological processes and stored it in harvestable form. Kepler 442b wasn't just rich in quantum crystals, it was the galaxy's largest energy production facility. This changes everything, Taeho whispered. With this much energy, humans could power interstellar civilization for millennia. They returned to the surface as the planet's sun set behind acid-green clouds. The city of New Busan spread out below them, thriving in conditions that had killed every other galactic species. Human children played in the streets while their parents worked alongside alien creatures that had once been considered unstoppable predators. Above them, the hegemony observation ships maintained their vigil, but now they were joined by vessels from other galactic powers. Word of humanity's success had spread throughout Council space, bringing observers, spies, and increasingly desperate attempts to claim portions of the wealth. Governor, Communications Officer Jin A reported over the radio. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. The Galactic Council is requesting immediate negotiations. Wu Jin smiled as he looked up at the alien ships circling overhead like vultures. 6 months ago, those ships had come to watch humanity die on a world that was supposed to be uninhabitable. Now they were watching humanity transform that death world into the most valuable piece of real estate in the galaxy. Tell Earth to inform the Council that New Busan is willing to discuss terms, he said. But the negotiations will take place, here, on our world, under our conditions. The galaxy had tried to dispose of humanity by sending them to hell. Instead, they had given humans the keys to unlimited power and proven that no environment was too hostile for human adaptation. The hunters had become the hunted, and the prey was about to dictate terms to the entire galaxy. Governor Wu Jin stood before the assembled colonists in New Busan's Great Hall, looking out at faces that had been transformed by 2 years on Kepler 442b. These people bore little resemblance to the soft humans who had first left Earth. Their skin was tougher, their muscles denser, their eyes brighter. They had become something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. Fellow citizens, he began, the Galactic Council has made us an offer. The hall filled with murmurs and whispers. Everyone knew this moment would come eventually. The galaxy had watched humanity's impossible success for too long to remain passive observers. Dr. Suman read the Council's formal proposal from her tablet. Full membership in the Galactic Council with voting rights equal to founding species. Recognition of human territorial claims on established colony worlds. Technology sharing agreements with selected council members. Protection under galactic law for human civilians. What do they want in return? Asked Engineer Tejo. Exclusive human colonization of Class 10 and higher death worlds, Sumin continued. Shared mining rights on quantum crystal deposits. Human, technical assistance for Council exploration missions. And military support for Council security operations. The hall erupted in angry voices. Security Chief Haye Jin stood up, her scarred face grim with determination. They want to make us their attack dogs. Send us to the dangerous places while they stay safe on their garden worlds. They want to control us, added Mechanic Jiwoo. Keep us isolated on Deathworld so we never threaten their comfortable civilization. Young Ho, still wearing his centipede handler gear, raised his hand. What happens if we refuse? They'll try to blockade our worlds, Wu Jin replied. Cut off our supply lines from Earth, force us to accept their terms through economic pressure. Scout, Kyung Min laughed, a sound that held no humor. Blockade us with what ships? Most of their vessels can't even enter our atmosphere without falling apart. That was the central truth that had changed everything. Human colonies weren't just self-sufficient. They were becoming technologically superior to the civilizations that had created them. Dr. Minsio's medical advances were extending human lifespans and capabilities beyond baseline standards. Engineer teams were designing ships and weapons that functioned better in hostile environments than anything in Council arsenals. I call for a colony-wide vote, Wu Jin announced. All adult citizens of New Busan will decide humanity's response to this offer. The voting took place over 3 days, with representatives from all human colonies participating through quantum communication networks. The result was overwhelming. 97.3% rejection of the Council's terms. We reject their offer, Wu Jin announced to the assembled crowd, but we make them a counter-proposal. He activated the main display, showing a document that would reshape galactic politics forever. Humanity demands full membership in the Galactic Council with voting power proportional to territorial control and resource production. He read, exclusive mining rights to all Class 10 and higher death worlds throughout the galaxy. Equal access to all Council technologies and scientific databases, and protection for human colonies under a new galactic charter that recognizes humanity's unique capabilities. And if they refuse, asked Dr. Sumin. Wu Jin's smile was sharp as the acid rain outside. Then humanity establishes its own galactic confederation. We invite all species interested in Deathworld resources to join us as equal partners. We offer our unique colonization abilities to anyone willing to share fairly in the profits. The implications were staggering. Humanity controlled access to the galaxy's most valuable and dangerous real estate. If they withdrew from Council oversight and established their own confederation, they could offer other species opportunities that the Council had never provided. Broadcast our terms to every species in Council space, Wu Jin ordered. Let them all know that humanity is offering an alternative to Council control. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, representatives from dozens of minor species were requesting meetings with human colonies. Species that had been denied Council membership saw an opportunity to access resources and territories previously beyond their reach. The Council's response was predictable but futile. Ambassador Veltar announced that any species cooperating with humanity would face economic sanctions and military consequences. 3 Council fleets moved toward human space, intending to enforce a blockade. That was when the galaxy learned the true extent of human technological advancement. The first human warship, Soul's Vengeance, intercepted the Council fleets at the edge of the Kepler system. The ship looked like nothing in galactic records, a hybrid of organic and mechanical design that seemed to grow rather than being built. Its hull was grown from Deathworld organisms that actually strengthened under the stress of combat. Captain Park, formerly of the colony ship New Sol, commanded the vessel with a crew of Deathworld colonists. When the Council ships demanded his surrender, his response was broadcast throughout the galaxy. This is Captain Park of the Human Defense Force. His voice carried across space with calm confidence. You are approaching sovereign human territory. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Hegemony fleet commander laughed, a sound like grinding metal, One primitive ship against 3 battle cruisers? Surrender now, and we will show mercy. Primitive? Captain Park replied. Let me show you what Deathworld engineering can accomplish. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. The Soul's vengeance moved through the Council formation like a predator among prey. Its weapons used corrosive compounds that ate through standard galactic armor. Its shields were powered by quantum crystals that provided energy levels beyond anything Council ships could match. When the engagement ended, 2 Council vessels were drifting helplessly with their systems dissolved by acid-based weapons. Third was fleeing toward Council space, broadcasting desperate warnings about human military capabilities. This is Captain Park to all Council forces, the human commander announced. Human space is now under the protection of the Human Defense Force. Any hostile vessels approaching our colonies will be treated as acts of war. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the species they had tried to dispose of on a death world announced their independence from galactic authority. But humanity wasn't finished with their revelations. Dr. Sumin's research team had made a discovery that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. Using data collected from multiple Deathworld colonies, they had uncovered the truth about species development patterns throughout the galaxy. We've analyzed the evolutionary history of every Council species, she announced in a broadcast that reached every inhabited system. Every single one evolved on what humans would consider garden worlds, planets with stable climates, gentle weather, and comfortable living conditions. The implications were staggering. Earth was different. Our planet subjected us to ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and countless other catastrophes. These disasters forced humanity to develop adaptability, ingenuity, and resilience that other species never needed. We are the galaxy's only true Deathworld species, she continued. Every other civilization became soft and dependent on comfortable conditions. Humans became hard and capable of thriving anywhere. Governor Wu Jin took over the broadcast from New Busan. Behind him, the city's towers gleamed in the light of Kepler 442b's angry sun. The Galactic Council made a critical error when they sent us to this world. They thought they were sending us to die in isolation. Instead, they gave us control of resources they could never access and proved that no environment in the galaxy is beyond human reach. He paused, looking directly into the camera. Humanity hereby establishes the Deathworld Alliance, a confederation of species dedicated to exploring and colonizing the galaxy's most challenging environments. Any civilization interested in true partnership, rather than Council domination, is welcome to join us. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, representatives from 47 different species had requested membership in the new alliance. These were the species that had been excluded from Council leadership, denied access to resources, or simply ignored by the galactic establishment. The Council's authority began crumbling as entire star systems declared independence and requested human protection. Species that had been members for centuries withdrew from Council oversight, seeking the opportunities that humanity offered. 5 years after the first landing on Kepler 442b, the galaxy had fundamentally changed. The Human Deathworld Alliance controlled 17 of the 20 most resource-rich systems in known space. Human colonies dotted the galaxy's most dangerous and valuable planets. The species that had been sent to die in exile now controlled the flow of quantum crystals, rare metals and exotic materials that powered galactic civilization. Governor Wu Jin, now Supreme Coordinator of the Deathworld Alliance, stood once again in his office overlooking New Busan. The city had grown into a metropolis that defied galactic understanding, a place where humans and dozens of allied species worked together in conditions that would have been instantly fatal just years before. Status report, he requested from his aide, now a young woman named So Young who had been born on Kepler 442b and knew no other home, the Alia. 2 years after the initial landing, the Galactic Council faced a crisis that kept their leaders awake during their sleep cycles. What had begun as a simple disposal mission had become the greatest threat to galactic stability in recorded history. Ambassador Feltar paced nervously in his private chambers aboard the observation ship Silent Death. Through the reinforced windows, He could see the impossible sight that haunted his dreams. A human city thriving on a world that should have killed everything that lived there. New Busan had grown into a metropolis of 50,000 inhabitants. The city's towers reached toward the acid-green sky, built from materials that shouldn't exist. Human engineers had learned to grow buildings from local organisms, creating structures that were part architecture and part living creature. The buildings actually got stronger during acid storms, feeding on the corrosive rain. "Status report," Veltar demanded, as his aide entered the chamber. "The humans have established 12 additional settlements across the planet's surface," the aide reported with barely controlled fear. "Each one is larger and more advanced than the last. They're not just mining crystals anymore, they're harvesting the planet's entire energy output." Veltar's mandibles clicked with anxiety. The humans had discovered what the Council had tried to keep secret for centuries. Kepler 442b wasn't just rich in quantum crystals. It was an ancient energy collection system that could power galactic civilization for thousands of years. Control of that planet meant control of the galaxy's future. "What about the other attempts to establish bases on Class 15 worlds?" Veltar asked. "All failures," his aide replied. "The Korvaxi attempted to colonize Helios Prime. Their entire expedition was killed by atmospheric pressure within hours. The Xantharians tried to land on Acid Rain Beta. The planet's storms dissolved their ships before they could establish a perimeter. Every species that has attempted to follow the human example has failed catastrophically." That was the nightmare that kept Council leaders awake. Humans weren't just surviving on death worlds, they were the only species that could survive on death worlds. While other civilizations were limited to garden planets with comfortable environments, humans could establish colonies anywhere. They were turning the galaxy's most dangerous and valuable real estate into their private empire. "Incoming transmission from the Council chambers," the aide announced. The holographic display activated, showing the emergency session of the Galactic Council. All 12 member species were present, their representatives looking as worried as Veltar felt. Ambassador Veltar, Council Prime Rixtal, spoke with the authority of her position. "Your reports from the human colony continue to concern us. Please confirm that these statistics are accurate." "Every report has been verified multiple times," Veltar replied reluctantly. "The humans are not only surviving on Kepler 442b, they are establishing the most productive civilization in galactic history. Their mining operations extract more quantum crystals in a single day than most planets produce in a year." "And their population growth?" asked Ambassador Kethamore. "Accelerating. Human families are reproducing successfully in the hostile environment. Their children are actually healthier and stronger than baseline human standards. They're adapting to the planet's conditions within a single generation." Council Prime Rixtal's blue skin had turned pale green, a sign of extreme stress among her species. "How many human settlements are currently operational on Class 15 worlds?" 15 confirmed colonies across 7 different death worlds, Veltar reported. "Each colony is successfully extracting resources that we previously considered impossible to harvest. The humans are establishing a monopoly on the galaxy's most valuable real estate." The council chamber erupted in panicked chittering and buzzing. Every member species was realizing the same terrifying truth. They had accidentally created a monster that could devour galactic civilization. "What are their demands?" Council Prime Rixtal asked when order was restored. "They want full membership in the Galactic Council with voting rights equal to founding species," Veltar said. "Exclusive mining rights to all Class 10 and higher death worlds. Technology sharing agreements on equal terms. Protection for human colonies under galactic law." "Impossible," Ambassador Kethamore growled. "Those terms would make them the dominant power in the galaxy." "They already are the dominant power," Veltar replied quietly. "They control resources we can't access, can colonize worlds we can't survive on, and their technology is advancing faster than our ability to understand it." That was another source of terror for the Council. Human engineers weren't just adapting alien technology, they were improving it beyond recognition. Standard galactic tools became revolutionary innovations in human hands. Weapons designed for garden worlds became devastating instruments of war when wielded by Deathworld colonists. "What about military action?" suggested the Korvaxi representative. We could blockade their worlds, force them to accept limited terms. With what? Veltar asked. Our ships can barely approach Class 15 worlds. The humans have been designing vessels specifically for hostile environments. Their technology works better in the conditions that disable our systems. The truth was even worse than Veltar admitted. Human ships had been detected throughout the galaxy, moving freely through regions considered impassable by standard vessels. They were establishing trade routes through nebulae that scrambled electronic systems. They were using asteroid fields as manufacturing bases. They were turning the galaxy's natural hazards into strategic advantages. Perhaps we could negotiate a compromise, Council Prime Rixtal suggested desperately. Limited membership, restricted territorial claims. They rejected our previous offers, Veltar reported. The human governor Wu Jin was very clear, full equality or no agreement. They said humanity has moved beyond needing council approval for their activities. That was the most frightening development of all. The humans were no longer asking for permission to expand. They were simply informing the council of their intentions. New human colonies appeared regularly throughout the galaxy, always on worlds, too dangerous for other species to challenge. There's something else, Veltar added reluctantly. Intelligence reports suggest the humans are developing military technologies based on Deathworld materials. Their weapons use the same corrosive compounds that make their planets uninhabitable. Their armor is grown from organisms that thrive in toxic environments. Meaning? Ambassador Kethmore demanded. Meaning their soldiers are adapted to combat. Conditions that would kill our warriors before the fighting even began. They're not just colonizing Deathworlds, they're using them as military training grounds. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans weren't just a new galactic power. They were a power that operated by completely different rules. They thrived where others died. They used resources others couldn't touch. They conquered environments others couldn't enter. What do you recommend? Council Prime Rixtal asked. Veltar considered his words carefully. His own species, the hegemony, had been the dominant military force in the galaxy for centuries, but military dominance meant nothing against an enemy that could turn any planet into a fortress and any environment into a weapon. I recommend we accept their terms, he said finally. Full council membership, equal voting rights, exclusive Deathworld mining claims. Because the alternative isn't limiting human expansion. It's watching them establish an independent empire that makes the council irrelevant. You're suggesting surrender, Ambassador Kethmore accused. I'm suggesting survival, Veltar replied. The humans didn't ask to be sent to a Deathworld. We forced that choice on them. Now they've proven they can not only survive anywhere, but thrive anywhere. We can either work with them as equals or find ourselves conquered by them as enemies. The vote was close, but the council ultimately agreed to Veltar's recommendation. They would offer humanity full membership with equal terms. The alternative was too terrifying to contemplate. As the council session ended, Veltar looked out at New Busan one final time. The human city glowed in the alien sunset, its towers reaching toward stars that had once seemed safely beyond human reach. In just 2 years, humanity had gone from potential extinction to galactic dominance. The Council had tried to dispose of humanity by sending them to hell. Instead, they had taught humans that hell was just another word for home. The galaxy would never be the same.